Spellville, yes, Spellville. UNC family. Princestown Massive. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us here. And I came with a prepared text, you know. So let's thank all the speakers before me, MP Charles, MP Padarat, MP Benjamin, thank you all so much. And I shared with some of you all my thinking about the wonderful choir. Let's give them a round of applause, Flaming Word Ministry. And I shared with some of you, and I want to tell the rest of you here tonight, that I always love to sing. But my husband, Dr. Greg, said, Kamala, do not sing on a mic. So whilst I congratulate the choir for lifting our spirits, I want to share with you my determination and grit to do what I think is best. And so when I went to Irie High School, coming out of the Common Entrance exam, I told some of you already, coming out of Common Entrance, I went to Irie High School and they had a wonderful choir. And I asked and begged, can I please join this choir? But of course they say, no, Kamala, I mean, you really can't make. And so every day when Miss Mildred, who was the principal's wife, she ran the choir, every evening when they were doing choir practice, I will go and sit down on the side of the choir practice, looking really sad, looking really, really, really sad. And I did this for about a month or more. Eventually I said, okay, Kamala, you are so determined, come, join the choir. So I'm giving you that as a story of determination. Never give up, always keep trying. UNC family, together, never, ever give up. So welcome to all of you, UNC family members, all the executives and MPs who are here. I want to thank you very much. I want to say that the UNC has always stood for unity. Our respect and love for our differences is what unites us. That is the same glue I spoke to you before about, which holds us together. I was referring to Derek Walcott's very famous work, Fragments of Epic Memory. I want you to know that the UNC loves and cares deeply about the happiness and well-being of everyone in our country. You must not terrorize and destroy your own mind and soul with bitterness and hate. You must soothe and nourish your mind with happiness and with love. Anyone who gets up on a platform, who shouts, who berates, who insults, to create hate, discord, anger, and strife, and quarrels with you, they do not want unity and happiness or harmony. How can someone, whether in high office or no office, be blind to the mix of our citizens? You can see our UNC candidates, give them a round of applause, the diversity and the mixture of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Under this government, there is violence, there is fear, there's poverty, because there's no sense of unity, there's no sense of inclusion. There's only bullying, anger, blame, and wanton aggression. If you want peace, safety, and prosperity, that is what we in the UNC are offering. That means you want unity, inclusion, harmony, cooperation. That is what the UNC is about. Those who want this unity do not care. They do not want and do not care about you or your family. And so we see the pandemic of division in our country. We see the pandemic of P&M, political economy of hatred. And let me explain that to you. The other parties are campaigning, as I told you, on race baiting, on innuendo, on gossip, on reputation destruction, political opportunism, purchasing deceit, and sometimes outright untruths. They are dealing in political economy of hatred. What does it mean? This means this is a supply of hate creating stories from government and the willingness of voters, some of them, to listen to hate. Hate is fostered with fake stories of the government's opponents, imaginary crimes. But the impact of these stories come from repetition, not truth. The hate-creating stories help to discredit opponents whose policies are better than theirs. I saw MP Khadija put out a press release calling upon the blatant lies of the government. Every time they speak, more lies to create discord and disunity. Hatred relies on people accepting rather than investigating hate-creating stories. They're using it against police officers, for example. They want to blame rank-and-file police officers for crime, when the reality is the government is interfering in the operations of the police service. And let me say this, Mr. Rowley, Prime Minister Rowley, your latest salvo in trying to deal with the crime issue, talking about you want to create a special elite force in the police service because they will be chosen because they have integrity. We said, no way should you proceed in that direction. That is against the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The government cannot set up elite services within the police service. How will you select these people? What will be the criteria? Is the criteria that you're sending them to look for UNC people? Is that what it is this is about? And then when you heard what he said, look for the criminals wherever, and for them inside Parliament. Please understand, inside Parliament. Well, I want to tell you there are no criminals on the UNC bench in the Parliament. There are none of them there. And if there are any criminals in the Parliament, then you are talking about your own members that you know about. But I want to say we totally disagree with setting up this special unit in the TTPS. There are already many arms within the service to help us deal with the issue of rogue police officers. But when you come to talk about paying them more, again, what criteria, whom will select them? And then you demoralize the rest of the service because you're picking a few people to pay them more money. You know, they say, those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make them madder. Prime Minister Rowley, that is a totally insane idea at this time. So I'm talking about the political hatred, political divisions, the political economy of hatred. And so they're using that against the police officers when they say they want to force the 4% on the police officers. After you have worked them in some cases to death during COVID, and then you claim now to have money for special officers. This is setting up hate and division within the police service. Now they're using the political economy of hatred by painting workers who refuse the 4%. They paint them as greedy. They insult them as being ungrateful. I believe, on the other hand, on the political economy of love, compassion, empathy, upliftment, and I condemn the political economy of hatred. The government must stop threatening workers' jobs. They are terrorizing workers and their families mentally by creating the constant fear of losing the ability to afford food and shelter. This is a most evil, diabolical act. We come to the energy sector, and there is an energy sector pandemic. We have reached a stage where there is a pandemic of losses in the energy sector. Oil and gas businesses are fleeing our shores. Many are closing their bases of operation in TNT and fleeing to Guyana and other parts of the world. We see multinationals are giving back acreage that were given for exploration and production. There's a Reuters article, I'm not sure if the team has it, which tells us about this. Reuters article, Vancouver, July 12th. Australia's Woodside Energy Group has returned a deep water block to Trinidad and Tobago government after an exploration appraisal found it would be uneconomic to develop, a company spokesman said on Wednesday. All this destruction and losses in the energy sector are down to three major reasons. Number one on the list, the shutdown of Petrotrin is number one. When Rowlett lied and said the government is not closing down Petrotrin. If you were closing your fridge, I repeat, he said the government is not closing down Petrotrin, and instead proceeded to do exactly that, where all were fired. That was number one. That was a revenue generating asset. It has now turned into a liability. Tens of thousands of high quality jobs turned into unemployment. Fuel independence into fuel insecurity. Low fuel prices into high fuel prices. Most private businesses supporting Petrotrin operations, they have been wiped out. That's reason one, the closure of Petrotrin, where we had our greatest competitive advantage as a nation, being in that industry for over 100 years. They killed the goose that laid the golden egg. The second reason is that Rowley unilaterally, that means one-on-one, all by him ruins himself, imposed new royalties and taxes on the energy producers without an understanding of long-term effects of so doing. We had to wake up and understand that oil and gas investment goes to where the best returns are available. Oil and gas are found in many places around the globe, and without proper investment returns, then they will go elsewhere, where they say the grass is greener in the other fields. So a competitive taxation regime, if we don't have that, companies will go to other countries. That's two. The third factor, Rowley and Young, without energy sector technocrats, without professionals, personally went to Houston and outsmarted themselves in gas price negotiations. Because of this, exploration and production here in Trinidad and Tobago has plummeted. Businesses are fleeing, and downstream companies face increased gas prices. The power generation companies as well increase prices. Because of their ridiculous negotiations, you will now be forced to pay increased electricity rates and water rates. MP Padarat spoke earlier about the increased electricity rates. They are fooling you. Do not get chained up. Do not be fooled by their lies. They already have the report completed, as the MP has told you, and will enforce it after the elections. If you look at what's on here from Moody's, they're boasting about the Moody's upgrade with respect to our economy. But this is what Moody has to say, in addition to other matters. He says, and it's up on the screen, in addition, this is Moody's, a new electricity tariff regime will be more cost-effective, with more cost-effective rates, is scheduled to be published this fiscal year, followed by revised water tariffs in fiscal 2024. What is Moody's telling you? They're telling you they're going to have a new cost-effective rate for electricity and water. What does that mean? You think the prices will go down? Do you think the price of water will go down, the water rates? Do you think electricity rates will go? No, the answer is no. They'll be followed by revised water tariffs. So you come to us and you boast about the Moody's, but Moody's is pointing the direction where this government will go, which is to put more hardship on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Moody's is now saying we are at, what is it, a rating of B. They're claiming that the economy is doing well. The country has a good BA2 rating. But if we check out the chart, we will see that the BA2 rating is internationally considered to be junk status. So you're boasting that we have been placed in junk status, Mr. Rowley. And if it is that we are doing so well, why you want to bring property tax? Why you want to bring inheritance tax? Why you want to raise water rates? Why you want to raise electricity rates? It is very clear that the economy continues to go on a downward spiral. The IMF has been in the country for months, dictating to the Minister of Finance measures to cut government debt and spending. They are facing increased difficulty in accessing loans and financing due to the very high debt, government secrecy, low revenues, and low confidence internationally. As I said, if the country is doing so well, then why are you going to put all these increases? I want to know if these are all IMF directives, which they clearly like. These are only imposed on countries who are really at a near-death stage in catastrophe. We are now, I'm asking, under the control of foreign consultants and foreign policies. You will ask me, what will we do? But before I give you some of our plans, I want to share with you some breaking news coming out just today. Just today. First of all, you remember that our great former AG, Anand Ramlogan, on behalf of the Public Services Association, filed a matter with respect to the TTRA and the position of the workers of the PSA. And on Friday, the PSA, through their lawyers, Anand Ramlogan and team, they got leave to apply to the Privy Council to enforce an injunction to stop the government from moving forward with displacement of workers from the PSA. Today, our team scored a victory in the courts. Today, please give the team a round of applause. So through their lawyers, the PSA is pleased to announce that the government has backed down on its plan to force public officers in the BIR and Customs and Excise to make a decision on transferring to the Revenue Authority by 31st July 2023. At the hearing today, the government indicated to the High Court, Justice Westman James, that Minister of Finance will today pass an order extending the time until November. This is consistent with the judgment of Justice of Appeal Rajkumar, who dissented from the majority and ruled that he would have imposed an injunction until November to preserve the status quo. The Privy Council over the weekend contacted our lawyers, and they said they will hear this matter for the injunction as a matter of urgency next week. And that on the same day of the hearing, they will give their judgment on the same day of the hearing next week. And so this was sent to both our lawyers and to the government's lawyers. So the government came to court today and said, listen fellas, it's okay. We back down. We will wait until November. So there's no need to go forward with the injunction. Based on that, the government issued a legal notice 211 today. An order under the hand of the Minister of Finance. This order may be cited as the TT Revenue Authority Extension Order. The period under Section so-and-so of the Act is extended to 30th November 2023. This was exactly what the lawyers were asking for in the courts below. And when they got the leave to go to the Privy Council, government backed down. Give the legal team a round of applause. Give them a round of applause on this matter. And so we will fight them in the parliament. We'll fight them outside the parliament. And we'll fight them in the courts of law for justice for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So you ask me, what would we do? Let me share some of our plans to secure businesses in our land. Sensible voters, they want to hear our plans to improve lives and to secure livelihoods. I have confidence in our pro-business plans to service a high standard of living. And let's share some of these with you. We have our economic transformation plan. We have been showing that since 2020. Please go onto our website and you'll get more details. Second, it is our plan that we should lower corporation taxes to a minimum of 18% over the 5-year period. We say scrap the property tax and do not bring any inheritance tax. We say deregulate and simplify the processes for environmental clearances and approvals for new and existing businesses. Pursue double taxation agreements with more countries in South America, West Africa, and other Commonwealth countries. 6, strengthen legislation to protect minority shareholders, which is currently a big problematic area in our ease of doing business. 7, aggressively enhance legislation regarding contract, law, and mediation. Currently, it takes between 4 and 6 years to settle contract disputes. 8, implement Spanish as a compulsory second language in all our schools. In that way, we can tap into the large, over 600 million population in Latin America and South America. And of course, for our own migrant children here in our country. As a matter of urgency, implement computer technology and software development as core parts of the education syllabus. 10, improve the ease of doing business by implementing a quality assurance management system such as ISO 9001 in specific units related to businesses development, statutory approvals, credit facilities, tax clearances, financial accreditation in the following organizations: legal affairs, utilities, WASA and TNTech, NGC, customs and excise, BIR, EMA, town and country, FIU, and building inspectorate. When we align all these units under a common quality management system, we will make doing business in TNT easier. 11, we can reduce our costs of exporting a container of locally manufactured goods by 1, and not just for export, but for the comfort of all road users. We must improve road infrastructure to decrease transport costs to and from ports of entry and from factory. Hiring of more customs and excise personnel to increase efficiency of their operations. Investing heavily in improving port infrastructure to attract new shipping lines. Increasing the number of bonded areas offsite the ports, thus freeing up space within ports for exporters. 5, strengthening management and technological systems to reduce inspection and documentation and speed up throughful times. So I'm raising these plans because we cannot just come here and complain and quarrel. Some of these may be relevant to you, but these are for the ease of doing business so we can bring down the prices, bring down the cost of living, and bring in more investment. We must utilize blockchain technology as a way of keeping track of transactions and documentation and for asset management. 12, invest and expand the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards to enhance the ability to test imported products and reject inferior products from entering our country. We are inundated with the dumping of inferior products here, detrimental to our local manufacturers who adhere to higher quality standards. And of course, yes, we must work with fellow CARICOM members to create new and enhanced trade agreements. We will be in a stronger position as CARICOM gets more profitable agreements. And so what is the PNM offering you? Mikey K earlier said, they say there is no difference, but there is a tremendous difference between them and us. What are they offering? Taxpayer funds as bribes by paying cash for votes in corporations that they are facing difficulties in. Tonight, I want to share with you property tax to cash for votes pandemic. I want to show you the Diego Martin grant clip where Mr. Imbert and others, along with Shamfa Kujo, they joined the National Commission for Self-Help. They gave out 30 grants valued at $750,000 to families within the Diego Martin Northeast area. Each person received a grant in the form of a purchase order, ranging from $15,000 to $25,000 based on causes of their damage to their home. Has anyone in Princestown received any such grant? Has anyone in Maruga Tableland received any such grant? Has anyone in Naparima? Anyone in St. Augustine? No, you see, because they're using government taxpayers' money to bribe people to buy votes. Over $750,000 in grants in Diego Martin Northeast. I have no issue with helping people in need. We know that. But I have an issue when you take taxpayer money to give cash for votes to your supporters during an election campaign. Clearly they are scared, and Diego Martin and the NTA combined with the UNC will run them out of the Diego Martin Corporation. And I have a really big issue when you're forcing people to pay property tax and inheritance tax on what they work so hard for. But then you take the funds to pay bribes to voters and to also fund your local government campaign and your activists. MP Rodney Charles tonight told us about what's going on with Balashé House, and I endorse his calls for more transparency with respect to the construction of that Balashé House. So make no mistake, this is what they will do with your property tax money. They are picking pockets, depriving you and your family of what you worked hard for to pay off voters and the election activists. That cannot be right. So you're in effect working so hard to pay to build a next man house. This government is taking your money to be used to build a next man's house. Understand that? Your roof is leaking, but you have to pay property tax to fix a next man's roof because he's campaigning for the government. Totally discriminatory and unfair. But let's look at this also. They gave the money with purchase orders. A purchase order is a legal document form used by someone who is a buyer. It is sent to a supplier for an order. A purchase order specifies the items, the quantities, prices, and credit terms for a purchase from the vendor. This means that the PNM has also selected the hardware to supply the material. The PNM financier who owns the hardware will be the one making the money. And you never know, they may find a hardware owner who is just as willing to pay Judases, as we found out recently when over $500,000 was paid by a hardware owner to a Judas who crossed the floor. Show that check up, please. You all know any P&M financier who owns the hardware, who pays Judas's. Can we put a check up and you can see it there? Leonard's check to Kavish. And check the pictures with Leonard and Stuart Young. You see them? Birds of a feather, yes. Look at that. Look at him there with Stuart. But remember, Mr. Leonard said, he paid Kavish to get money owed by the P&M government to him. He's paying Kavish to influence the government to pay him. Do you ever hear anything more funny than that? Stuart and him liming together, but he has to go and pay a UNC Judas to intervene with the government to pay him. The government is robbing you of your money through overtaxation, filtering it through suppliers and contractors to pay bribes to Judases and election activists. You know the expression, what a tangled web they weave when they first set out to deceive. Now you all know where your property tax and inheritance taxes are going. And this is why they do not want the procurement law. And I'll talk a little about that law. There's so much to say. Rodney spoke about it. And we'll go to Parliament on Wednesday. What are we going to Parliament to do on Wednesday? We are going to Parliament on Wednesday because we had filed pre-action protocol letters against 2 orders that the Minister of Finance signed to exempt the CARICOM meetings expenditures and to exempt some supplies to the judiciary. When we filed that, they were supposed to respond to us by Monday, but they take front before front take them. And they sent us a reply on Friday. I thought I had a copy here. It doesn't seem as though I have it, but I remember what they told us. In essence, it was a confession of guilt that they had acted wrongfully in Imbert issuing the 2 orders to exempt CARICOM expenses and judiciary expenses. They admitted it, and they then said, well, look, there's no need for the court proceedings to go on because we are coming to Parliament on Wednesday with a validation act for those 2 orders and an amendment to the Parent Act of Procurement. I don't want to tie you up too much into the law, but I just want to make it very clear. First of all, they come to validate what they've already illegally done. And the questions will be, how much money are you talking about for that CARICOM? Tell the country. Be transparent. Tell the country. How much money was it that you exempted here? Who are the contractors? Who are the suppliers of the goods and services? Tell us who they are. Is it Leonard's Hardware? Who else is it? Who are these people? You must tell the Parliament that when you come for the validation of the 2 orders. But even more troubling is the amendment they're seeking to put into place to the parent law. Remember procurement law passed under my government. They took 8 years, they've only just proclaimed, and they're already pulling it back. They already amended it and withdrew several areas of oversight. They want to come on Wednesday now to further water down, and I will say they're not watering down. What they're coming to do on Wednesday is to put the last nail in the coffin of the public procurement law and to do the last rites and bury the law. I'll tell you this, that is not now worth the piece of paper that is worth. It's not worth it. Not one piece of paper. Not one. Not the piece of paper it is written on. When you do that on Wednesday, what you will be saying is you can exempt any service, the supply of any goods, without parliamentary oversight. So every Monday morning, Imbert gets up and he decides on exempting. You're removing the affirmative resolution, which means it had to come to Parliament. You had to come and explain it before you could exempt it. He's changing that to negative resolution, which means he just writes up the order. It takes effect immediately. If not challenged in Parliament within 40 days, it continues. So he's been given a blank check when you put in this negative resolution on the paper. Anything and everything, and then you want to tell me the Prime Minister says the reason they want to change it is because it takes 2 months. Prime Minister, that is why there was this emergency measure to come to Parliament with an affirmative resolution if something came up that was not planned or prepared for. And in the same way, you now have to come to Parliament to ratify and validate those illegal orders. The same way you could have taken one day and come to Parliament and explain what the money is for, who are the contractors, and why it has become necessary to make an exemption order. But when you now put it in this manner, nothing, no transparency, no integrity in the law. And the second thing you said, you can't even buy toilet paper. Are you saying you're running the government like some poor man's house, that only when you run out of something, you run down by the parlor and you buy it? Don't we plan? Don't we budget? Don't we know how much we need in any given financial year? Isn't that why you do a budget? That you will come to the Parliament and say, we need $5 for hygiene supplies, we need $100 cleaning supplies, whatever it is. That's why you have an annual budget. And still, you have, within the law as it is, for emergency provisions to come to the Parliament immediately to seek affirmative resolution and share with the country what it is. So when you make these amendments, and the third one you want to make, which is contracts below $1 million don't have to go through the procurement law procedures. What does it mean? Every contract now will be just under $1 million. That was one of the ills. That was one of the ills that the law attempted to deal with. Because what people were doing, you have a contract, it's $1 million, you bring in the contract below, and what you do, you break up the contract into several packages. So you will never have to go through the transparency and accountability of the procurement law. We will say more of this in Parliament on Wednesday, but I will tell you that your UNC members in Parliament will not support this killing, butchering, massacring of the procurement law. We will not support it. We will not support it in any way. And when the minister signed those illegal orders, his failure to bring the exemptions for debate in the Parliament before giving them out, these contracts, my question today, Minister, and to your government, did you commit a criminal offense? Sections of the Procurement Act speaks about criminal offenses. One says a person who directly or indirectly influences in any manner or attempts to influence in any manner any procurement proceedings in order to obtain an unfair advantage in the award of a procurement contract commits an offense and is liable to a fine of $5 million and imprisonment for 10 years. By illegally and unconstitutionally bypassing Parliament, has the finance minister, is he guilty of influencing procurement proceedings? And it doesn't stop with him. These illegal contracts, knowing full well that he had just voted for a law that required them to come to Parliament for approval, that was a precondition for these contracts. They have given out contracts illegally under an illegal so-called exemption order to their friends, their family and financiers. That is a blatant criminal offense. Mr. Imbert was quick to throw the AG under the bus, Reginald Amo. When the matter arose, he said he acted under legal advice from the Attorney General. Well, Mr. Imbert, we know never take advice from a lying Attorney General. Incompetent, lying AG. Never take that advice. Amo would equally be guilty of misconduct in public office and aiding and abetting a criminal offense. If, as Imbert claims, he was advised by AMO to break the law. AMO must also be investigated and charged for colluding with IMBD to break the law. It is unthinkable and unimaginable that a Minister of Finance can publicly say that the AG, who is a legal advisor to the Cabinet, advised him to break the law and commit a criminal offense. AMO is intellectually and mentally unfit to function as AG. He has done irreparable damage and destruction to the office in his short time there. Government now come into Parliament, as I say, retroactively evaluate and make other changes. So what do I say? I call upon the Commissioner of Police. Well, wish me luck. I call on the Commissioner of Police. I call upon you to launch an immediate criminal investigation into this offense, just as expeditiously as you have done had it been a political opponent of the PNM. I call upon you that a PNM TTPS, I tell you, Mongoose gang, instructed by the PNM control hierarchy of the TTPS, are raiding people's homes in Tobago who were connected with the Farley so-called alleged tape, because Farley stood up to Rowley's financiers in Tobago. I call on the DPP to act on this matter so that the rule of law and our Constitution can be protected from these vicious and diabolical actions on the part of the PNM government. As I come to a close, I raise again the issue of crime as a pandemic. And we on this platform, in this space, will not be intimidated by Prime Minister Rowley, who goes on a platform and say, we want to run a general election. We're talking about crime. Mr. Rowley, you are not real. Come down from there. I told you that last week. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down. Come down. Crime is the #1 fear, terrorizing all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And you are so out of touch that you say we must not speak about crime. If you will not speak about crime, we will, because that is what our constituents tell us. That is our people are on the ground. This is what they're saying. And if you look at all the clips, you will see crime is on the rampage. They want us to ignore the reality that the hierarchy of the police service is taking political orders from the government. They engage in immature PR over the weekend. 319 dead and counting. You have the responsibility, not reforming, but repeating that you will vote for the UNC to stand your ground. What did David do when faced with the reality of Goliath at Judah? What did David do? He stood his ground. He was brave like the great King David. And tonight I call upon you, UNC members and friends, stand your ground. We want to give you a fighting chance. So let us give legal firearms you can protect your families with. When they come to bad talk, legal firearms, tell them Kamala is giving you a fighting chance to secure yourselves and your families. My friends, losing everything under the pandemic that is the PNM, what is the opposite of secure? It is insecure. Why does every living thing find insecurity so terrifying? This is a fact. Every little thing is desperately afraid of insecurity. In states of insecurity, you are bound to suffer losses. Insecurity means losing everything. I want you to listen to this carefully. In states of insecurity, you will always suffer losses. Some will suffer grave losses. The result of grave losses is suffering, depression, and premature death. Some of us are still trying hard to keep our minds and bodies intact under the terror that is this government. Remember how they terrorized you under COVID, terrorized you about your jobs, terrorize you about vaccines, terrorize you about wages. This government is a party of terrorism and insecurity, which means they are the party of widespread losses. You know, music is a sign of the times. The young generation now is singing what is known as Trinidad music. The only things these young men are singing about are death, suffering, hatred, political victimization. I want to give you another instance of grave insecurity, talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. How many thousands of your loved ones died? Why did your beloved husband die? Why did your beautiful wife die, your children, your ambitious son, your loving daughter? Why did our beloved suffocate to death like something from a horror movie? Why did you have to lose? Even as we ask these questions now, you see their warm and loving smiles. You still hear their voices and feel their touch. This is the government's responsibility for all your losses over the last 8 years. If all of this gets you burning with anger, wanted to hit out, tonight I say hit out with your vote on August 14. Hit out and say you want security, you want love, you want care. Hit out against waking up to another day of losses, another week of losses, another month of losses. Our UNC councillors here and others, they have given their pledge of service to you. Thousands of you have seen their pledges and have agreed to put them to the test. So redirect your pent-up anger and hit out against losses and insecurity by voting for care and security in all your UNC councillors. They are the pandemic. The PNM is the pandemic. And I ask you to remember that as we vote against the PNM on August 14th. There is just one other matter I had to raise, and I'm not sure if Radon got it printed yet, but if not, my memory is fairly good still. So I want to raise with you another breaking piece of news, which is that today the court granted the Presbyterian Board leave to challenge the decisions of the government with respect to the breaches of the Concord Act. And this is a very important landmark piece of information that only came to me on my way here. The board, and I know the other denominational boards, are challenging government's decision to interfere with the running of those denominational schools. I will speak more on that, but remember, this is a fascist government. It is their way or no way. But thank God we have the courts of law and the rule of law. And we will continue to stand up for you, for justice, to stand up for the rule of law, to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago gets back on the right path. I close, my sons and daughters. Remember, whenever you feel alone, all on your lonesome, when you feel no one cares for you, whether you feel that you can't go on, know that we in the UNC will love you all. I say put God in front and walk behind. Psalm 27 in the Holy Text tells us, the Lord is my light and my salvation. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And it ends with, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Put God in front. Stay strong, UNC family. Stay strong. And ensure that here in Princestown, all our councillors in the corporation are voted into office. Before I leave, remember this as well. Yellow is the code. The code is yellow. Don't tote, just vote. Stop toting and start voting. Starting up in the east in Grundy, it is code yellow. come along the corridor, Arima to the Puna, Sadi Grande, Lavanti, up the road, Port of Spain, Diego Martin. The code is yellow. The sun rises in the east and shall move to the west, to the south, and to every part of our land. And when we come down into the south, Cuva, Tabaqui, Talparo, code yellow. Chaguanas Borough, code yellow. Princess Town, code yellow, yellow, yellow. Pinal Debe Corporation, the code is yellow. And right down to Superior Corporation, we gone clear, the code is yellow. God bless you. On August 14th, put your X next to the rising sun. Thank you.
It's time for we. It's time for we.